Have you ever seen it? The successful failure. The brilliant CEO who can build a $1 billion empire, but can't maintain a healthy relationship. The powerful leader who can command a stage of thousands, but creates a toxic culture of fear behind the scenes. The high achiever who has a perfect career, the perfect home, the perfect life on paper, but is internally empty, wrestling with a quiet sense of meaninglessness. In our relentless pursuit of success, we are taught to master strategy, finance, and innovation. But we are often left to stumble in the dark when it comes to mastering the most critical element of all, ourselves and our relationships with others. This mastery has a modern name, emotional intelligence. And there is no greater case study in its power and in the tragic consequences of its absence than the life of the wisest, richest, and most powerful king of the ancient world, Solomon. Today, we are opening King Solomon's masterclass in management and leadership. We will not be looking at spreadsheets or market trends. We will be mining the gold from two of the most profound books he ever wrote. The practical, street-smart wisdom of Proverbs and the brutally honest, soul-searching reflections of Ecclesiastes. We will discover that 3,000 years ago, this ancient king laid out a blueprint for emotional intelligence that is more relevant and more desperately needed today than ever before. The journey into emotional intelligence always begins with the first, most difficult pillar, self-awareness. Before you can hope to lead others, you must first have the courage to lead yourself. And that begins with unflinching honesty. And Solomon's book of Ecclesiastes is perhaps the most unflinching and honest document ever written. After inheriting a golden age of peace and prosperity from his father, David, Solomon had it all. And he embarked on a great experiment. He decided to test every possible source of meaning and satisfaction this world has to offer. He pursued pleasure, saying, "I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure." He pursued massive accomplishments, building houses, planting vineyards, creating magnificent parks and gardens. He pursued wealth, amassing silver and gold in quantities the world had never seen. He even pursued wisdom itself, exploring the heights of human knowledge. And after a lifetime of limitless indulgence and achievement, this is the brutally self-aware conclusion he reached. Meaningless, meaningless, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Now, this is not the cry of a nihilist. This is a foundational insight of an emotionally intelligent leader. It is a courageous admission that power, pleasure, and projects cannot fill the void in the human heart. A leader who understands this vanity is a leader who is safe. They are not driven by a desperate need for validation. They are not looking to their success to give them an identity. They have looked into the abyss of their own limitations and have become aware of what truly matters. This is the starting point of all wisdom. From this foundation of self-awareness, Solomon's wisdom in Proverbs teaches the second pillar of emotional intelligence, self-management. Once you know yourself, you can begin to manage yourself. And the primary area where self-management is tested is in our speech. Proverbs is a masterclass in managing the tongue. Solomon writes, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but harsh words stirs up anger." He says, "The one who has knowledge uses words with restraint, and whoever has understanding is even-tempered." And most powerfully, the tongue has the power of life and death. Think of this as a management principle. An emotionally intelligent leader understands that their words create culture. With their tongue, they can speak life into their team, breathing encouragement, offering clarity, and building trust. Or they can speak death, crushing a new idea with cynicism, spreading conflict through gossip, or demoralizing their people with harsh criticism. The ability to pause, to hold your tongue, to choose a gentle answer when you are under pressure is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate sign of a leader who is in control, not of others, but of themselves. So we see from Solomon's grand and sometimes painful experiment the first two pillars of leadership wisdom, the unflinching self-awareness to know your own heart, and the disciplined self-management to control your own words. But how does this inner mastery translate into the outer world of leading and influencing other people? How did Solomon navigate the complex web of human relationships, ambition, and conflict that defines any great enterprise? To lead others effectively, a leader must move from mastering their inner world to understand the world of those they lead. This brings us to the third pillar of emotional intelligence, a skill that Solomon constantly emphasizes in his writings: social awareness. This is the ability to read the room, to understand the emotional currents and unspoken realities in a group of people. And its foundation is the discipline of listening. Solomon understood that true power is often found not in speaking, but in silence. He writes in Proverbs 18, "To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. And fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions." An emotionally unintelligent leader is a fool in this sense. They dominate conversations. They're in love with the sound of their own voice, and they answer questions before they have truly heard them. They listen only to reply. But a wise leader listens to understand. They know that the most valuable information in any organization, family, or community is often held by the quietest people in the room. By practicing the discipline of listening, they create a culture of safety and respect, where people feel seen and valued, and they gain the critical insights they need to navigate complex situations. But social awareness goes deeper than just listening to what is said. It's about understanding what is not being said. Solomon shows his deep insight into human nature with this proverb. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one whose insight draws them out. An emotionally intelligent leader is a student of a human heart. They have empathy. They understand that people are driven by deep-seated motivations, fears, and desires that are rarely visible on the surface. They have the wisdom and the patience to ask good questions, to listen between the lines, and to draw out those deep waters, helping their people to understand themselves and creating a profound sense of connection and trust. This brings us to the final and culminating pillar of emotional intelligence: relationship management. This is where the first three pillars, self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness, all come together. It is the ability to use your understanding of yourself and others to build bonds, to influence, to inspire, and to navigate conflict. One of the most difficult tasks in relationship management is giving honest feedback or correction. Solomon provides a blueprint, writing, "Better is open rebuke than hidden love," and even more powerfully, "Wounds from a friend to be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses." This is a profound leadership principle. An emotionally unintelligent leader avoids conflict at all costs. They engage in hidden love, never saying the hard things that need to be said, and allowing mediocrity or dysfunction to fester. Or they are an enemy who multiplies kisses, flattering people to their faces while their organization crumbles. But an emotionally intelligent leader, a true friend, is willing to inflict a wound. They build such a high level of trust that when they deliver a hard truth, it is received not as an attack, but as an act of care designed to heal, correct, and build up. Finally, Solomon teaches that the highest form of relationship management is choosing your relationships wisely. He writes, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." And the famous proverb, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." A wise leader is not the smartest person in every room. A wise leader is the one who has the humility to fill the room with people who are smarter than them. They actively seek out iron-sharpening relationships, mentors, advisors, and team members who challenge their thinking, hold them accountable, and make them better. They are not afraid of being sharpened. They are afraid of becoming dull. So here we have it, a 4-part blueprint for emotional intelligence from the wisest man who ever lived. Be self-aware enough to know your own limitations. Practice self-management to control your impulses and your words. Cultivate social awareness by listening more than you speak. And master relationship management by building bonds of trust and seeking out those who make you better. This is the formula for a wise and effective life, which raises a terrifying question. If Solomon knew all of this, why did his own story end as a cautionary tale of catastrophic failure? What happens when the wisest man in the world ignores his own wisdom? That question is the shadow that hangs over the brilliant legacy of King Solomon. And the answer is a sobering reminder that wisdom is not a trophy you acquire once, but a garden that you must tend to every single day. The wisest man in the world forgot his own advice, and his downfall was not a failure of intellect, but a catastrophic failure of the heart. The Bible tells us that in his later years, Solomon, the master of relationship management, made a series of disastrous relational choices. for the sake of political alliances, he married hundreds of foreign wives. This was a direct violation of a core command from God, a command designed to protect the heart of Israel's king. And slowly, subtly, the inevitable happened. The Bible says in the first book of Kings, as Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. This is the tragic irony. The man who wrote, "Above all else, guard your heart," failed to guard his own. His emotional intelligence, so brilliant in theory, collapsed under the weight of his unmanaged desires. His legendary self-awareness gave way to self-indulgence. His disciplined self-management dissolved into a pursuit of pleasure. His social awareness became a tool for political maneuvering rather than genuine connection. And his relationship management failed at the most critical level, his relationship with God. The man who had been given divine wisdom in a personal encounter with God ended his life building altars to the idols of his foreign wives. The consequences were devastating. The kingdom that he built into a global superpower, a beacon of wisdom and wealth, was fractured. God declared that because Solomon had turned his heart away, the kingdom would be torn apart after his death. The golden age would end. The United Nation of Israel would be split in two, a division from which it would never fully recover. Solomon's legacy, for all its brilliance, was ultimately a divided kingdom, a cautionary tale of a leader who gained the whole world, but in the process, lost his own soul. But that is not the end of the story, because it is from this place of profound regret, from the ashes of a life that had everything and found it to be nothing, that Solomon gives us his final, most important lesson. The book of Ecclesiastes is a reflection of an old king looking back, and after all the experiments, all the successes, and all the failures, he writes a conclusion to his entire life search. This is the ultimate wisdom, the final word from the wisest man who ever lived. He writes, "Now all has been heard. Here is a conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. This is the master key. This is the fifth and final pillar of emotional intelligence that holds all the others together, spiritual alignment. To fear God does not mean to be terrified of him. It means to live in a state of reverent awe and submission to a reality greater than yourself. It is the antidote to the pride that says, I am the center of my own universe. To keep his commandments is the practical application. It is the daily choice to align your life, your decisions, and your relationships with the timeless wisdom of your Creator. This was the one thing that is not meaningless. It is the anchor that holds a leader steady when the temptations of power, wealth, and pleasure threaten to pull them away. The ultimate management wisdom from King Solomon is that emotional intelligence, disconnected from a moral and spiritual foundation, will eventually crumble under the weight of a compromised heart. So we are left with a full, complex picture of this incredible king, a man whose wisdom in Proverbs gives us a timeless blueprint for leadership and success, and whose life in Kings and Reflections in Ecclesiastes serve as a gut-wrenching warning. We can learn from both. We can apply his brilliant insights on self-awareness and relationship management, but we must also heed his final conclusion. The wisest thing a leader can ever do is to guard their heart by anchoring to a truth that never changes. If this deep dive into the wisdom and the warnings from the life of King Solomon has inspired you, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Join us as we continue to mine the pages of the Bible for the most powerful leadership lessons ever recorded.